Tomorrow morning we are headed to pop roughly 30 holes, and we're doing a post and top rail with no climb, which is this stuff right here.
Gotta throw a hammer and you don't push it.
Alright, I've got to show y'all I got me a new cat piece of equipment. What I'm fixing to have to do is what I should have done to begin with. Real quick, I wanted to let you know how you can build a welding rig in just one day. It's real easy. All you gotta do is go to arosswelding.school and click on the Quick Rig. The Quick Rig is the latest course that's available on the Aross Welding Trade School website, arosswelding.school. It's basically all the information you need to build a welding rig. Not only is it all the information you need, but we've designed this Quick Rig to where you should be able to build it in just one day. 2 days max, depending on your fabbing and welding experience. But don't worry, if you don't have much fabbing experience, I'll show you a couple tips in the course also. We've made it as universal as possible, so you don't have to have a 1 ton. Even though I do recommend welding out of a 1 ton or a 3/4 ton, you gotta start somewhere. So maybe you don't have a 3/4 ton, maybe you don't have a 1 ton. That's all right. This Quick Rig will fit on a trailer. It'll fit in a long bed, a short bed, on a flat bed. We tried to think of everything. We didn't want you to have any questions. We just want to get you making money as quick as possible. Our goal is for you to spend as less money as possible and make more money as fast as possible. The Quick Rig will pay for itself over and over and over again. We've included things like what welding machines I recommend depending on what type of mobile welding you want to do. There's CAD prints, there's video tutorials, different loading ideas, a minimum materials list, which isn't much by the way, a minimum tools list that you need just to build the thing, but also a minimum, what we're calling a rig out tools list. That's just the minimum tools that I recommend that I think you can get by with when starting to mobile rig weld. This way you waste as little money as possible. This course is valued at $350, but to kick it off and get it going and get it out there in your hands, we're offering it to you for only $47 from now until Sunday, August 21st at midnight. After Sunday, it'll be priced at $97. We do intend on adding a couple of things to this course over time, making it more valuable. But now is the time to purchase it, because if you purchase it now at $47, you will still get those add-ons that we add to it in the future. So head on over to arosswelding.school and check it out. Got 2 pallets of concrete loaded up, auger, water hose. Got our tarp strapped down so we don't ruin the concrete, because it looks like we could get a little rain shower. Boy, that's cool, ain't it? Tomorrow morning we are headed to pop roughly 30 holes, and we're doing a post and top rail with no climb, which is this stuff right here. All 2 7/8, 2 7/8 post, 2 7/8 top rail. All geared up, ready to rock and roll. I'm super excited about this job. I'm even more excited because I've got some help coming. I've got Dakota coming. He's 18 years old, just graduated high school. He's gonna help us just do whatever needs to be done. Most likely I'll have him start cutting fence posts. And then I've got Clovis. Clovis is my skid steer guy. He owns a skid steer. I do not own one yet, so rather than renting a skid steer, I use Clovis. Sometimes it's a little more expensive, but it's worth it to me because I can be more flexible on my time. I can usually work longer days, as to where whenever I rent a skid steer, I have to have it back by said time, or depending on the length of job, I have to rent it for longer, which just costs longer. So depending on the job, this is all logistics, if you will. Not owning your own stuff makes things a little more complicated, but whenever you have a buddy like I have Clovis, it makes things a lot easier logistically. So I'm thankful to have Clovis, and I'm excited to have Dakota and Clovis here helping me today, and I'm just excited to make some progress. All right, so here's the lowdown of the project that we're working on. There's an existing fence back here, but we do have to cut into it to put a couple of braces and hang a 16-foot gate back here. Today we just focused on clearing this fence line back here. There was just a little bit of clearing that needed done back here. And then there was a section here that needed cleared for the fence connecting to the house. So there's a total of roughly 290 foot of fence that we have to put in here, here, a couple of braces in here, a couple of braces and a gate in here, and then a fence tying the house to the shop. So first thing we did whenever we got out there was Clovis went to town with his grapple, removing some trees. After he removed some trees, I'd done a little weed eating so I could put up some string line. Got the main run of fence laid out. I ran a string line, I squared up this corner, and then I divided our spaces evenly. I usually shoot for 10-foot spacings, but if they're short runs like this, like a backyard area, I just take the total measurement and then I divide it into whatever the even number is. So if the even number is 9, I go with 9. If the even number is 11, I go with 11. If it's 8, I go with 8. Might be 8 and some change or 9 and some change. Or like in this situation, I was actually able to do exactly 10 foot on our longest run back here. Because we had a total footage of 130 feet, so I was just able to take my wheel and mark 10 foot all the way down through there. And just like any good rental company, I had to rent this auger unit and auger. They put some new hoses on this auger, but what we think happened was they didn't use the right dye, so the crimps didn't get tight enough, so we were spewing hydraulic fluid everywhere. It was 11 o'clock by this time, so I just took this opportunity to go to town. We grabbed some lunch, and we got our hydraulic hose fixed. Once we got back from lunch, we were able to start popping some holes. I'm using a 12-inch rock bit and I'm shooting for between 4 and 5 foot on depth. For this 2 7/8 post that we're using, I could have got away with a 9-inch, that would have been plenty, but the rental place actually didn't have a 9-inch available, so the 12-inch is just as well. All right, we're getting some holes drilled finally. We had to take a hose to the auger, a hydraulic hose, to town because the rental place didn't crimp it or use the wrong size of dye to crimp the ends. They're new hoses. So anyway, so we went to Napa in town here and they crimped them for us. We're finally able to get some holes drilled. So Dakota and Clovis are drilling. I went ahead and took my truck, went over yonder and got some pipe, backed it in here. I just can't stand around and do nothing, you know what I mean? Because the smarter thing, or less physical thing, would have been to have Clovis get his forks on and go over there, because it's a little ways across the backyard here. Put pipe on the forks and carry it over here with the skid steer. But I am so thankful to have Dakota and Clovis here, because it allowed me to feel like I had time to think about what needed to be done next. The reason I'm bringing this up is because when I was editing this video, and even as I was out there carrying those posts to each hole, it's not something I necessarily advise. It was, and it's something that I kind of felt silly about, because I was carrying posts, 100 feet to put in a hole, and not every time, obviously it got a different distance every time, but my point is I kind of feel silly looking back, but the best way I know how to describe it is my mind's going 90, but I only have the tools to go like 40. So I know those of you that have had your own business or remember starting your business, you know what I'm talking about. Whenever I'm on a job, I'm looking to make as much progress as possible. I mean, I do it anyway, but especially whenever I'm renting equipment, and in this case, we rented the auger. So, I've got a time frame and I'm trying to get as much done in, as little amount as time possible, because I have to get the auger back by a certain time. But like I said, it doesn't really matter with the rental. Like I'm all the time trying to get as much done as possible in a day. So those of you that have had your own business, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that are younger and wanting to get into starting your own mobile welding business, my advice is logistics are everything. And it's something that I find myself being more and more obsessed with the older I get and the more work I do for myself around the house here. And it's challenging. It's super challenging. I think that's one of the reasons I like it. It sharpens my mind, because every job's different. In this situation, if I would have had one more person out there with us and a tractor with forks or a skid steer with forks, so 2 skid steers, 4 people, we could have not had to use my truck. I could have stayed on the tractor with the forks, drove over to our pipe pile. The guy that was there helping me could have loaded the forks with pipe and just drove next to our holes just like I normally do whenever it's just me and Clovis, and have the guy on the ground put the pipe in the holes. But really, this job's not big enough for that, in my opinion. Unless I just had the equipment, it's not worth doing that in my situation yet. One day it may be, once I have more equipment and I have 2 or 3 guys working for me full time, but we're not there yet. But that's where my mind's at. So all that to say is logistics are everything. I'm obsessed with them. So hopefully you learned something. That was just something that was on my mind as I was editing this part of the video, and something I kind of felt silly about. So there it is. This is like a walk in the park compared to 4.5-inch post or 6-inch post. So there's where our corner's going. And what I'm fixing to have to do is what I should have done to begin with was run my string all the way out here, put a pin, and then the same way run this string over here, put a pin. That way everything stays square, and we can just pull the strings back, pop our hole, let the strings go back so we can have the string is so we can set our post in the right spot. So once they get done with that hole, or here in a minute, I'm going to be able to loosen that end of the string and then bring it down here, run the string right on past, drive a stake, and then do the same thing here.
You gotta throw a hammer, you don't push it.
I always heard, put your purse down. Worked with them guys from Louisiana.
Oh yeah, you gotta hit it with your purse.
On tie-ins, we'd be beating them clamps around trying to get the high-low out. They'd be, put your purse down. Now we can pull that pin.
I was always told hit it like you live.
Now that is a satisfying feeling. They're not leveled, obviously. Or I'm sorry, they're not plumbed yet. But still a good feeling. Right here, we're gonna put a 4-foot walk-through gate. It's gonna hinge on this post, and the latch is going to be up against the house. All right, I've got to show y'all, I got me a new cat piece of equipment. Fixing to strap her down. That way it's ready for in the morning. Kev, quit farting around. You're supposed to be hunting. The sun's went down. I know you've been sleeping all day. It's time to go hunting. My advice for this week is invest in things that will make money, that will produce income. If you're looking to get into the mobile welding industry or the welding industry in general, maybe you don't want to mobile weld full time, the quick rig could still be a really good alternative for you, because if you can spend as little money as possible to have a welding rig sitting in your driveway, if you are a single hand welder, maybe you travel single hand just means you don't have to have your own tools, your own welding machine, your own welding rig. You literally go weld on, in my mind, I'm thinking of like pipe work and plants and stuff. Single hand welding. You could be traveling doing single hand welding, but say you get laid off because maybe the type of work you're doing is in oil field, and oil field, as we know, is like a roller coaster. So maybe you get laid off. You could come home and have your quick rig that you built for little to nothing sitting in the driveway, and that way you can go make some extra money on the side while you're laid off and charge a good rate for it, because you have everything you need to do the mobile welding job. So just because you're not wanting to mobile weld full time, the quick rig could still be an option for you because of the low cost it takes to build it. Anyway, invest in yourself, invest in things that will make money, that will produce income, also known as an asset. I'll leave it there. I'll keep it simple. I just want to encourage you to do the best that you can for you and your family, whatever that looks like for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And remember, learn something every day.